live.
Okay, we're live.
I'm Charles Epting from HR Armor in New York City.
Michael Cortese, Noble Spirit, Pittsfield, New Hampshire.
And this is Alex Hyman, who most people will hopefully recognize from our first episode of Conversations with Philatelists. We're here in Rosemont, Illinois. We're at the APS, Great American Stamp Show. Day two, Friday morning. Westpex 2 weeks ago was a big show, and there have been other smaller shows that have been successful, but this is really, I would say, the relaunch of the physical hobby after a year and a half of COVID. Would you agree with that, Alex?
Yeah, it's over. Really 2 years ago with Omaha, Nebraska was the last show of this size to take place in the United States, and really even the last show of any major size. It was 2019.
So, first impressions, you guys. Michael,
Great. It's the attendance yesterday was overwhelming. It felt like we said it at Westpex, but it felt like we were back.
Yes. Do you agree that attendance yesterday felt like an APS show?
Felt like an APS show, and big opportunity that, obviously this show in Chicago was known for a couple years out, so the whole idea was that it was going to be in a big metro area, easily accessible to Ohio, Michigan, all of Illinois, Chicagoland. So I think the APS coincidentally ended up having the best opportunity to have a huge crowd here take place as well.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the shows that have been going on, even the ones I've been to, this is a good show for COVID. Like, given the circumstances, this is the best that it could be. This has not really felt like that to me. This has felt like a good show, full stop.
Yeah, agreed.
Without any qualifiers or asterisks or anything.
Now, funny if I just share a personal anecdote. My very first booth that I ever held as a dealer at an APS show was at this convention center 20 years ago. So 2001, at the APS show was here, and I was in the way back corner over there. It was the last corner, 10 foot straight. And so it's just amazing to be back here, and it have to be the kind of the reopening of.
How many dealers here would you say had booths that year as well? How many familiar faces do you see?
I'd say half. So there has been a turnover that's obviously good within any industry, but a lot of the sort of
half, but the same number overall of dealers.
About the same number, yes. Yeah. Or it's 2001.
Yeah.
So in terms of, Michael, you've got stock to sell from Noble Spirit's web store. I barely even spoke to you yesterday.
I know.
Because there were just people here. I was like, I'll get to talk to Michael all day. But then Michael Ball, who's one of my favorite dealers, he just walked by. I said, Michael, how was yesterday for you? He said it was his best single sales day ever at any show.
Yeah.
So that's a positive sign. I think there is this pent up demand, especially
it was the first day of the show, but Saturday I think is projected to be one of the biggest.
I think it's one of the most
really general public for sure. It's interesting about Michael Ball, just to dive into him for a moment. So his whole world is about what he sort of refers to as butts in seats. He knows that on average across the show, there's an amount of money every hour a customer is in a seat, on average, what he spends. And so his comment of this being the best show, what that means, back to pent-up demand, is he has shows where on the Thursday, he doesn't have an empty seat. He didn't have an empty seat here either. The difference between a past show and this one, though, is that the average spend, the pent-up buying demand of the people in those seats was clearly higher. That's the really interesting
and that's a great sign, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really positive. I haven't gotten a chance to look at the exhibits, and Michael and I are going to do an exhibit walkthrough, but can we mention just one exhibit really quick? I went over to the exhibits this morning, and there was like a line waiting to see Vince King's exhibit, which is difficult to explain. It's a history of stamp collecting, morphed with basically first issues of the world, solo frankings on cover.
Yeah, so great classic, it's almost iconic classic European and other countries sort of classic stamps in a beautiful, perfect cover. Yes.
Every cover is flawless, has a great provenance, has certificates, everything. What gets me is you've got this blend of the stamps were not made to be collected. That's a side effect of stamps. So he's got the history of the issuance of stamps. He's got the history of stamps being used as they were supposed to be used to carry mail, and how it intersects with popular culture. The first mention of stamp collecting in a newspaper, the oldest intact American stamp collection, and the way those two worlds intersect. Again, there was this byproduct. Yeah, they're issuing stamps to carry mail, but then of course people are going to start collecting and hoarding and all this stuff. And it's genuine, and no offense to any other exhibitor, I think it's my single favorite exhibit I've ever seen. I don't know how it'll judge because it's unconventional, to say the least. The boxes are, instead of exhibit frames, it's in three-dimensional boxes.
Yeah.
Which allows him to show books and albums.
It already
music.
has people talking about it online.
Yes, it is revolutionary. I don't think it. I mean, and the other thing I love, I mentioned it to you, and you're like, I've been working with him for 2 years on that. I saw Cheryl Gons, and she was like, I've been working with him. He's been texting me all the time. I need the provenance on this cover I bought from you. What can you tell me about it? He's been, crowdsourcing so much of this to make sure that it's as perfect as can be. It's his first time showing it, and I'm obviously, I don't put anything past Vince. I think he can improve it, but I don't know how it can be improved. It looks like
the basic concept, because you haven't, for anyone that's watching hasn't seen the tour yet, the basic way to think about this exhibit is our world is two-dimensional. It's about as two-dimensional in terms of physical objects.
Yeah.
It's how do we take the two-dimensional and bring it into multimedia, three-dimensional, other types of objects like a museum in its best form. A best form museum has all types of objects side by side with each other, not there's all of our paper and two-dimensional objects, and there's all of our three-dimensional objects in two separate places.
Yeah.
So it's the bringing together of all this, and even in the cases, the three-dimensional cases, he has two-dimensional philatelic side by side with three-dimensional objects.
Exhibits are hard enough to put together on their own, but this just sounds
logistically incredible.
So he has one advantage, which is that he's an engineer by training, and is really a combination tinkerer and builder. So he was the primary driver around the exhibit frames for New York 2016. He's been involved in ways of thinking about this particular idea of how do we display and think about philatelic and non-philatelic objects.
And you just to get you're looking at these covers of the first issue cover from the Italian states, Parma, and then you've got Mexico. And then all of a sudden it hits you again. This oldest U.S. stamp collection was a college student, high school, a student who had a book of German, and he just took stamps off of letters. And by that time there was only basically one stamp you would encounter on mail regularly, 3 cent red, and he just plastered the inside and front covers with 3 cent red 1851s. And this is a stamp collection technically. It's not what we would form as a stamp collection,
but there was no ancestor to it. So
it's literally
the first.
It's the first.
There were no instructions.
No, he made
or
this up.
mentors or anything.
That sort of genesis is unbelievable to me. And the fact that you're looking at covers, you're looking at great covers, but you sort of get lulled into a sense of security, I feel, where it's first issue cover, first issue. Holy cow. That's the first American stamp collection ever.
Yeah, my connection to Vince on this is that 2 years ago at the St. Louis Stamp Show, the big show that takes place in Missouri, I put a traditional one-frame exhibit together, and then I filled a 70-inch long glass display case, a waist-high glass display case. And in that, I put all the three-dimensional artifacts related to my interest in South Africa and Zululand. So my goal was to, of course, to be able to have it next to each other, but it was still not merged.
It was that separation of 2D and 3D. And Vince, I think, took it to the next level.
Yes, and so I'm excited to work with him on. He's going to be helping me basically do the same in my category. Just to I think I have an antique rifle that's related to a military conflict that I keep. Well, 2 of the frames that he has there, he has 2 half-frame, but within a frame display boxes. Well, if you now put the 2 together, that's the length I need. So it's about the next sort of going bigger, even beyond where we are now. But he's going to do so much more.
So do you think people will see this and try to replicate it in their own way? Do you think this is going to cause a
Do you think we'll look back in a couple of years and this will be the starting point for more three-dimensional?
Maybe a category of its own.
Yeah.
Yes and no. The biggest issue or the best advantage that stamps and philatelic objects have, and they've had from the beginning, and they have now even in our age of mass international shipping and logistics, is they still are relatively lightweight and they're still relatively easy to transport. The biggest thing is he basically has to drive to any event, so it changes the logistics pretty dramatically. Even if you ship the cases as you see in the exhibit, he still has the three-dimensional objects which he has to transport and then put in the cases once he's at the event. So it will require, I think, some real effort. But I would envision that there will be more focus on this. But I actually would go so far as saying three-dimensional objects and then also multimedia. Just the use of digital technology,
even more
video,
and more people using
sounds.
QR codes. And things
Yes,
like that.
exactly. Which transports very easily.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're only here for today. You have
Or yesterday and today.
Yesterday and today. You have a newborn baby. I
I do.
want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
what are your hopes for the rest of the show? You're here for a few more hours today. What are you looking to get out of again? First APS show in 2 years.
Buy anything yesterday?
Yeah, exactly. Give me your personal.
Yeah, thank you for that. Great question. So I would say that, and for anyone that's never been to Great American Stamp Show, even if you don't know anyone when you walk in the room, the reason to come to the show is to meet other people. Yeah. Period. So for me, I haven't bought anything, but I will, and hopefully I will today. So I'm not going to leave without emptying it. But for me, this event is about reconnecting with friends and being able to actually then make new introductions for people, finding dealers I'd never met and having a chance to meet them, taking people that I'd only met online. For example, there's a young guy coming here who's in his 30s who I've never met before, but we're going to meet for the first time later here on the show floor. We collect in a similar area. So that's the whole idea of this gathering of people. Starting off, we talked about yesterday, feels like a back to like a pre-COVID, true post-COVID show. It's really about the people. Though, in some respects, the buying experience here is awesome as well because there's so many dealers being in one place.
Yeah.
So for my expectations for today is I want to basically get to the exhibits for about hopefully another hour to go through beyond Vince's exhibit. There's some incredible. This Champion of Champions is here. There's some amazing Civil War related. There's a. I just had got to walk through yesterday with an exhibitor of who lives in New York and has a steamboat exhibit, which again not an area of focus of mine, but when you're there with the exhibitor who can actually kind of highlight it for you, another advantage of the show. It's an opportunity to be here with you guys and live stream for the first time for me from the floor of Great American Stamp Show.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to do another live stream tomorrow at 9:30 again, I think.
Yeah.
Alex, I want to give you time to wander.
Yeah.
Before the show
Take up
opens.
too much of your time.
Exactly. But no, again, if anyone wants to hear anything else or see anything else over the course of the next couple of days, tweet at us, email us, leave a YouTube comment. We're checking those constantly. But Alex, thank you for joining us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll see you on the floor.
Really fun. Really fun.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And we'll see everyone else tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.